The K&N Blackhawk intake that we have here will be a great choice for the 2006 and newer Charger owners who might be looking for a no tune required intake that will deliver a very stealthy all black appearance under the hood and want to go with one of the most trusted names in the industry. Now the Blackhawk will come with everything needed for the installation, including your dry synthetic filter, your included heat shield, and of course all of your necessary components, all for right around that high $400 price point. Installation is not going to require any permanent modification here, gang. Very easy day in the garage, so therefore figure a pretty soft 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter and about an hour or so to complete from start to finish. But if you hang with me for a bit, we'll walk you through that job later in the video. Now, as the name implies, the Blackhawk from K&N is all about one thing, and that is murdering out or blacking out 99% of the system, including things like your synthetic filter, heat shield, but even smaller things such as your hose clamps, as you can see, all been done in black. Now, your only exception here with this kit is going to be the badging on the K&N logo or plaque that has been milled onto the mandrel bent aluminum intake tube. But breaking things down even further, I think you'll find the Blackhawk, like K&N's other offerings for the 5.7 Hemi, will feature that open element filter design, which is going to have its pros, it's going to have its cons. Now, the pros will be a dramatic increase in sound coming from under the hood, under hard acceleration, just this kind of angry growl, if you will, along with a much cooler look whenever you pop the hood. Now, the drawback to this open element design is that you're not fully isolating that filter from any hot engine bay air from entering the filter or the intake, and ultimately that's where your sealed enclosure will get the nod. Now, if you are interested in a sealed enclosure instead, we can certainly check out the rest of our selection back at AM. But getting back to the Blackhawk here, what does this all mean for power? Well, the reality is, guys, with a no tune required intake such as this, in my experience, you're typically looking at high single digit, low double digit gains at best to the tire, without the use of that tune. Now, that's not to say there aren't benefits here, including the small bump in power along with that sound, and even things like a little bit more throttle response in addition to that very cool look under the hood. But aside from the stealthy appearance and the added power and sound benefits, the Blackhawk is also going to deliver some really nice components, guys, including things like your black aluminum intake tube here that we did briefly mention earlier, and you're also getting one of K&N's signature filters. Now, this filter is a bit unique because, unlike some of K&N's other options that utilize a traditional oiled cotton gauze filter, the Blackhawk here is going to utilize a dry synthetic material instead. So yes, it is going to be washable, it is reusable, but you won't need to go ahead with that extra step re-oiling the filter, which some owners actually might prefer instead. Now, in regards to cleaning, K&N does state this filter can go up to 100,000 miles before needing a deep cleaning. I will also say one of the drawbacks with going with a black filter is that you never really know when it's fully dirty. So if I were you guys, I'd probably shorten up that cleaning interval a little bit, maybe every 10, 20,000 miles. Pull it off, blow it off some compressed air, maybe hose it down, whatever the case. Just make sure you drive it fully before you reinstall it back onto your ride. Last but not least, K&N does kick in everything needed for the install here, guys, including all of your hardware, couplers, all that good stuff. It's a very complete kit from start to finish. I love the black band clamps here, or clamps. They do really help nail that blacked out look. Obviously, your clear is your elbow with the K&N logo. And you got your heat shield here. Aluminum heat shield. It's going to do its best to isolate that synthetic filter from all of that hot engine bay air. It's going to do so using the included weather stripping, which will go on top of the heat shield. Help seal that filter to the underside of your factory or aftermarket hood, and then utilize the factory cold air ducting to feed the filter itself. But now let's shift gears and get into the install as promised earlier, guys. And again, solid 1 out of 3 wrenches, about an hour or so from start to finish. This is basic wrenching 101. Intake's always a great place to start if you've never wrenched before on your car. But to give you a better idea of how things will go down on your Hemi at home, check out our detailed walkthrough and tool breakdown now.
Tools used for this installation: 3/8 electric impact gun, cutting pliers, 14mm wrench, 10mm wrench, 10mm ratcheting wrench, 1/4 inch drive extension, 3/8 to 1/4 inch drive adapter, 13, 10, and 8mm sockets, and a 1/4 inch drive ratchet. First thing we're going to do is remove our engine cover. You're just going to lift up on it, give it a little bit of a tug, and off it comes. Next, we're going to remove our air intake sender connector, plus our 2 8mm here on our clamps to remove our air intake tube. Just going to push down on that clip, squeeze it, Remove that. I'm going to take my 8mm here on my gun, loosen my clamps up. That'll allow me to pull it off of the air box and the throttle body and remove the air intake tube. Now that we have our air intake tube off, we're going to remove our PCV hose. Just going to give it a tug and a twist. Pull it off of there, and we're going to remove it from the air box. Twist it off. So next we're going to remove our 8mm. That will allow us to remove our air box. Going to want to hold on to this bolt because we're going to need it when we reinstall the new cold air intake. Now that our 8mm bolt's out, we're going to be able to lift up on our air box, give it a little bit of snug, and she comes right out. Now that we have our old air box uninstalled, we're going to look at what we have here in this kit, and we're going to have to remove some parts from our old air intake tube. First thing we're going to remove is our air intake sender. We're just going to give it a twist and pull it out just like that. We're going to lay that right here. We're going to move the air intake tube out of the way now because we're pretty much done with that. And we're going to look at what we got in this kit from K&N. Now, on this kit here, we're going to use the grommet that's supplied, which is going to go in here. And then they give you two fittings for the PCV hose. One is for a 6.1 liter, one's for a 5.7. Our vehicle's a 5.7, so we're going to install the 5.7 into this and our grommet into here and our air intake sender into here. So first thing I'm going to do is put our grommet in. I'm going to push it in and get it started, get it all the way around. And once I have that in, I'm going to take our air sender and I'm going to get that started and spin it and push it down in. You might have to push it in and you'll see there's a little clip on it that holds it from going any further. So now that we have that installed, we're going to take our 5.7 fitting, screw that into our air intake tube here. And you got to remember this is plastic, so you're not going to want to go crazy tight with it or you're going to strip it or break the plastic. Take my 14mm wrench. I'm going to get it pretty good and tight. That'll be enough. Now that we have this done, now we're going to work on our air box and start putting our rubber seal on it. So now I'm going to install our rubber seals onto our air box right here. We have a shorter one and a longer one. The longer one's going to go around the bottom. The shorter one's going to be on the top. So I'm going to start by pressing it down, sliding it into place. And I'm going to work it around the whole upper lip of our air box. And pretty much like that. It's going to seal and go down. And you'll just go all the way around. And I'm just going to go around and make sure I pushed it down all the way. And that's the top one. Now we're going to install our bottom gasket. This is just going to help seal the air box to the chassis. I'm going to start it here in the corner. See how it lays out. You're going to have to push it down on to get it to go down, but it fits pretty nice. Now, if you have extra left over, you can just take a pair of cutters, cut this, make it fit. I'm actually going to cut it back to about this section here because we have a bracket that's going to bolt here, so I'll end up cutting it here, and that'll be our seal for when it sits down inside the chassis. Next, we're going to install this bracket that they supply in the kit, and we're going to use our 10mm bolt with our flat washer. They're the bigger washers in the kit. They give 2 of them, plus they give a locking nut. So what we're going to do is take this bracket, we're going to install it like this. Slide our bolt through, hold it in there like that. Put our flat washer underneath with our nut. Get that started. And what I'm going to do is take my 10mm ratcheting wrench, get on there, use a 10mm to hold it underneath. And I'm going to tighten it up until it's pretty snug but still movable. That way we can move it where we want when we drop our air box and back down in. That's pretty good there, it's pretty tight. So now we'll install our bracket onto our head. Now we're going to take our bracket with our spacer and our 13mm that's supplied in the kit. We're going to install this into our head. This is going to hold our air intake tube on. So we're going to just take that, get that started. And again, I'm going to take my 13mm this time on my 1/4" drive ratchet, and I'm going to snug this up and make it pretty tight, but I want to be able to move it when we go to hook our air intake tube up. So that's probably good there. Now we'll install our air box. Now I'm going to drop in our new air box. I'm going to sit that in place and get it where we want it. And once we get that in, now we'll install our bolts that hold it onto our brackets. So now I'm going to install our 10mm that comes in the kit with our 2 washers and nuts. I'm going to put it through that bracket we installed into the chassis there. And I will install the flat washer, the locking nut on this one. That's going to hold it in place. I'll take my 10mm and snug this up. Now I have that one snugged up. Next, we'll install our bracket over here with our 8mm that we removed in our disassembly. So now we're going to install this bracket with this 10mm. We're going to put this on. This is going to end up sitting down on here. We'll use our 8mm that we took out on our uninstall. So I'll install this bracket down inside here, put our flat washer and our nut. Once I have that, I'm going to take my 10mm ratcheting wrench, snug this one up. I'm going to move our 8mm like that. Now we'll install our 8mm that we did on our uninstall, and that'll secure our air box to the chassis. Now we'll put our 8mm in, run that in with my gun. Now we'll go back. And once you leave it loose, you can move it around where you want it, just so you get it to fit properly. Now that we have our new air box installed and bolted in place, we're going to install this into our air filter. And I'm going to do this on the table here. You're going to push it down. There's a lip on this. You'll see it'll go so far, then it'll stop. We're going to take our hose clamp, snug it up with our 8mm. And get it started a little bit. Put it on, get it in place. Once I get it in place, now I'll finish it with my 8mm. I want to make sure it's even all the way around. That looks pretty good. So now we have that tight and that's all installed. Now we'll start installing our rubber tubes onto our air intake. So now we're going to install our rubber tubes onto our air intake pipe. You're going to see that our air intake center is this way. You're going to see this rubber tube here. This rubber tube has a K&N logo on it. That's going to go towards the throttle body. So what I'm going to do is take our hose clamps and start them a while onto our tubes. Then install that onto our intake tube. I'm going to take another clamp, install that onto this side. And then we'll install this one. This is going to go onto the air filter. We're going to install that with a hose clamp on the back part. Now, when I get them started, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 8mm and just snug them up a little bit. I want to make sure you give yourself plenty of room in here so that it slides onto the filter. I'll hold this in place. And just snug it up a little bit like that. And I'm going to do the same to this one. And I'm not going to make them too tight because I'm going to want to be able to move them when we get it on the vehicle. So now that we have those installed, we're going to take this over and install it on our car now. So before we install our air intake tube, we're going to install our air temp adapter right here. I'm going to plug this in to our harness. I'm going to run it underneath here, fish it down through. That way when we get our air intake tube on, we can just hook that up. It gives extra length for our wire so we can connect it over to here. Now I'm going to install our air intake tube. I'm going to put it onto our plenum, and I'm going to tighten these two hose clamps up with our 8mm to hold it into place where I want it. Now I'll tighten this one and just snug them a little bit. That way it holds it in place where it's going to be. Next, we're going to install our bracket on the back of our air intake tube that came off our cylinder head. So now I'm going to install our 10mm bolt on the back where our bracket goes into our air intake tube. I'm going to get that started. I used a flat washer and a lock washer. Now that I got that tight, we're going to take our air temp sender wire, connect that in. Next, we'll install our air filter. Next, we're going to install our hose clamp onto our rubber tube and drop our air filter in place. Might take a little bit just to finagle it down in here. And once we get it where we want it, I'll slide that rubber tube out some so I can get it in. And once we have that in place, spin the hose clamps up. Line them up, take my 8mm. Snug the one up, then get the second one in place where it goes. I'm gonna line that one up. Tighten those both up. Air filter's in place. Now we'll install our engine cover. Now we'll install our PCV hose. We're just going to push it over top and get it on and get it in place. You want to make sure you push it as far in as you can get it. And we'll bend this. This will go onto our air intake tube. Put it down underneath the AC line like that. Now we'll install our engine cover. Just going to want to give it tap down in place. That wraps up this review and install of our K&N Blackhawk series cold air intake. Thanks for watching, and for all things Charger, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.